Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. All right. So, my guest today is Amir Epstein. Just to give you guys a brief background, I met Amir a few days ago, but I feel like I know him for a while. So, he was kind enough to invite me to speak at the Isle of Canada Day event recently in Toronto, where I got to speak to a diverse audience. And then he also had an event recently where Dr. Gatsad had come to speak. He gave a wonderful speech and a presentation, and Amir had invited me, and we met there. So, Amir, thanks
Yes,
for
thank
agreeing to
you.
come on the podcast.
Thank you.
So, this is your first time. Nobody. So, I have a little bit of a tradition. I request my guests to tell everybody a little bit about themselves. So let's start there. So, who are you? Where you're from? How did you get into all of this?
Well, when I was 1 years old. No, I'm not going to do that. We'll speed it up.
Yeah.
I worked in criminal law defense for a
Okay.
while. Before that, I was a musician, toured across the country, across Canada. After criminal defense law, went into artist management, had some pretty big artists, and then COVID hit, and I realized touring is done. No one's going on tour, and it's going to be a long time. So I decided, okay, I'll figure something else to do. That was right after the Kelly Clarkson tour I was working on, and I'm like, this is done. I need to find something to do, and I came up with this tech company, and it was doing quite well. Everything was great, and then September 7th happened, and it just had such a profound effect on me. There's always terrorist attacks in Israel, and I always hear about them. I'm always like, man, that's horrible. That's horrible. But something different. Obviously, this is a bigger thing, but it hit me differently. And October 8th and October 9th, and for like 2 weeks, every day there was, anytime I spoke to somebody I hadn't spoken to since before October 7th, I would like cry. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, like very emotional. It just hit me really hard. Um, and then seeing the complicity, the people not caring, just disappearing. And I decided I got to do something about this. Our country is a disaster. So I decided, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to do it. And I started this organization called TAFSIK, which in Hebrew means enough. My mom used to yell at me in Hebrew, like, Amir, enough, TAFSIK, TAFSIK. You know, so I thought it was a great name and it made sense. And the co-founder is a guy named Brian Lipovetsky, who now is like a brother to me. I mean, we talk every day. He works on this with me. He does all the back end stuff, tech, all that stuff. I'm more of the face and the, organizer and getting things going. So we started TAFSIK and here we are.
So what kind of activities does TAFSIK do?
So the idea was, what is it we're doing? Because at first people were pulling us left, right, and center. Help with this, help with this, help with that. I'm like, we need to focus on what it is we want to do. Obviously, we want to combat anti-Semitism because it exploded. But what else do we want to do? How else does this Canadian, this country operate that we can live in peacefully? Who else are in our country that are Canadians that we don't know? We thought, okay, the most important thing we can do really is build allies, build bridges, learn about different communities who share commonalities, that have the same values as us, that appreciates and loves life like we do, who want to be allowed to continue to enjoy the freedom to express our religion, ourselves, and it not mean hurting others, right? So fighting anti-Semitism, building allies. Okay, which allies? The first two that made the most sense were the Iranians, because they are going through. They went through what Canada's just starting to potentially go through, which is the Islamification of a country, a total revolution where the Islamist regime comes in and says, "You're all done. This is how it's going to be." So they make sense because they are very much our foresight. They can tell us what's happening. The other group were the Indians. Of course, the Indians, the Hindus, the Christians, their experience with terrorism and Islamic extremism is identical to what we go through. So I thought these are the two, kind of groups that we want to start talking to and learning about. And at first, that's what we did. We started approaching different organizations, and just meeting people. It was just natural. It wasn't like, hi, I'm calling from TAFSIK. Like, it wasn't that way. I met, Iranians naturally. It just kind of happened. And we connected and it made sense. So we became friends. The same with the Hindu community and the Indian community. it made sense. And now we have all these friends and we all work together, and we really kind of, we all understand what it is. And one of the things I wanted to do as well is, okay, well, let's introduce education. The Jewish community knows so little about the Hindu community. We know so little about Iranians. We don't know the difference between the flags. We don't know anything about the communist Iranians versus the, royalists versus the Mech, and like all these. These are all every ancient people. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of culture and a lot of history. So I thought we should learn, and so we started doing these like biweekly, even once a month, educational series for free. We bring somebody in from the Indian community, and we talk about the long outstanding history behind, let's say, the Hindu community specifically. So we had leaders from the Hindu community. We've had Iranian people come who are very well educated and teach how we got to contemporary Iran, so that we can learn. Because when you learn about each other, that's when you really make the allies. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just having a common enemy. Okay, great, but let's learn about each other, and that's what we started to do. That was the focus.
I want to build on this. So you said having hatred for someone is not a very healthy way of building anything.
Right.
The one thing that I appreciated when I came to the GATSAD event is that your organization did not promote any kind of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
The aim of that event was trying to make people understand that freedom is good.
Mm-hmm.
Human rights are valuable.
Fantastic.
Right. That's what I could. I got out of that event.
Right.
And the idea of wanting to be alive and living a good life is actually not a bad thing.
It's okay.
And that's something that most people should agree on. And that's the first thing. When you build something on positive values, you tend to get much better results than when you build something on negativity. Negativity is that I hate group X. Right now, there is group X that has a problem with A, B, and C. So A, B, and C follow the rule that the enemy so the enemy of
my friend
is like
right.
So like that kind of a thing.
Sure.
And I think that's a very negative way of building anything. I've in my own journey, I came to Canada for the first time in 2001. I studied in York University. I left Canada.
I went to York University.
Yeah, we're all everybody's from York. So it's
kind of
like, everybody's from York. So I went back in 2002. I got married to a Canadian. We've been married for 17 years.
Wow.
And I would come back and forth to Canada. Now I've become very regular in Canada for the last 3 years. I've made a conscious decision that at least half of the year I'm going to be here. Half of the year I live in India.
Yeah.
And that's how I balance my life. Like I go back and forth. So I'll be there for a few weeks, then come back. It's kind of trying to balance both lives.
Sure.
And I've always had a fondness for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem with Canadian discourse has been that Canadians have nothing to add. When you remember that day on the We I Love Canada Day?
The We Heart Canada. Yeah.
So I asked a very simple question: what are Canadian values?
Right.
And did you see the faces of everybody in the crowd?
They weren't sure what you meant.
But let's start there. Then how can an organization like TAFSIK, it doesn't matter, right? Whether you're a Jewish Canadian or a Hindu Canadian, you're Canadian, right?
Correct.
So what is that binds an average Canadian? You can't be love for ice hockey.
Of course not. Look, Canada, here's the thing. We have an enemy. Okay. People who are coming here who want to destroy the democracy of Canada under the guise of, Canadians are racist. All of Canadians are racist. We're here to instill our values, which we believe is superior to your values. So they use very much our weakness against us to form the popular ideas. And this is what I mean. So what's the worst thing you could be called? A racist. It's the worst thing in Canada to be called as a racist. Well, there's a few other worse ones for sure. But one of the worst things you can be called is a racist. What's a racist? A person who really loves their country, because that means they think they're better than everybody else who isn't in the country. Oh, so you're a nationalist, you're a supremacist. That means you hate anybody who didn't come from. They just twist it into a thing where if just a few years ago, we used to have that popular commercial, I am Canadian. Remember that Molson Canadian beer
Yeah,
commercial?
yeah. I remember that.
Show me one person who's proud to be Canadian out there that isn't immediately called a white supremacist, racist Nazi. So that is the value that we had as Canadians, that we were proud to be Canadian because we love our democracy, we love Western ideologies, the freedom of expression, the freedom to practice whatever religion we have in peace, and to love our families and just be left alone to try to enjoy life. That is no longer acceptable by a few groups. You have the Islamist political arm of Islam that want to push this caliphate, and we have to kill everybody who is Jewish and Christian and everybody else who doesn't see things our way. And then you have their useless, they used to be called useful idiots, but really they're useless idiots. A lot of like white kids and that are, oh, Marxism is great, communism is amazing, it's fantastic. They don't know anything about it, but this is how they see it. Why? Because they hate democracy. Why do you hate democracy? Because I have nothing. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I want people to give me the things that I have. Why should you have a nice house and a car? Well, I worked 12-hour days. I worked my ass off to buy my house, and I still owe a lot of money on my house, and I pay a lot of money for my car. Well, why shouldn't I have your house? Because you didn't work your ass off, and you're lazy, and you're a failure. Really, right? A lot of these people are just, I'm sorry to say, a lot of them are just losers. So the losers hate democracy. They see this other group hates our democracy, the caliphate, that's what they want. They go, oh, okay, we relate. We both hate democracy. This is great. We should work together, without understanding the true essence of what it is that will happen to them if this extremist ideology wins. And who knows about the extremist ideologies the best?
People who have suffered.
People who suffer from it. Iranians who've seen their country taken and their people oppressed and killed. For what? Indians who, at the same time as when Israel was reestablished, you see Pakistan, and look at the fighting and the killing. Why? So, and there's others too, of course, right? There's other Khalistanis that are attacking, I mean, in Canada especially. So we understand the effect of what an extremist ideology means in real life. And Canadians that if we take out those three groups and we just look at Canadian, like, the kind of the quintessential white person, Canadian loves hockey, they don't want to be bothered by this shit. They just want to live their lives like they do. They want to have a beer on Friday and take, their boots off, relax, watch some hockey, go ice skate, whatever, right? Like, just be whatever, free. So they don't really understand this. And the kids who grow up not understanding this, there's a romantic attraction to this. There's a romantic attraction to, oh man, that's crazy. Like, they don't have friends. Let's say they leave, let's say Saskatchewan, they come to Toronto, they don't know anybody. They kind of meet with some other kids, and those other kids like, yeah, man, Marxism, communism is really cool. Oh, it is? They don't know anything about it, but they have new friends, and they like their friends, and they kind of get pulled into this thing. And unfortunately, it's usually the case that it's those who are the weakest, the least intellectual, not the leaders, the followers. And those are the people who fall into this trench. And they don't even see the enantiodramia effect of what their goals are and what the reality is. What I mean by that is, so enantiodramia is when when you're set to do something, the exact opposite happens. The missionaries in Africa. We want you to believe in Jesus Christ or you're going to die. We want you to believe in Jesus Christ, or you're going to die. We want you to believe. Oh, I killed him. That's enantiodrama. Okay, so as an example. So, like, you try for an effect and then the opposite occurs. They don't understand that. They think they're doing right by joining these groups because they see them as a minority group or whatever. They don't understand that what they're becoming is the thing that they're accusing others of. They are today's Nazis.
Do you think there is a crisis of meaning in the average white Canadian's life?
No, I don't think so. Listen, I've been here my whole life. I appear white. I'm Jewish, so technically,
I understand, but you're Jewish. You're not counted. I mean,
I don't count myself
listen,
as
you
a
know
white
what I'm
man,
saying.
even though I appear white.
You literally know what I'm saying.
I do. I think it's
They
just,
won't even think you're white.
you know, you're right. Well, we weren't white enough in World War II
Yeah.
for the Nazis.
I mean, you remember Karen Brodkin's book, right? How the Jewish became white folks. It's actually, there is a literal book written.
Absolutely. And if you take a look at real historical figures, you look at McGill. There was a quota. There's only so many Jews that can
Talk about that.
There's only so many Jews that were allowed to become doctors in Canada just 30, 40 years ago. There were hotels that wouldn't allow Jews to come in. So we weren't white enough to them. But today, we should be accountable for all the crimes of white history, that, you know, everything that's occurred in the past. That's you know, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of weaponization of words, weaponizations of ideas, and they're really good at it. This is I'm talking about specifically the Islamic, you know, the Islamists, which I think it's, you know, I know Gad has a different, we had Gad Sad, he had a different opinion on this. My opinion remains that the political branch of Islam is the violent branch, and that's where we see the.
By the way, I wholeheartedly support this point. I don't agree with.
Yeah, because I know Sad thinks you start with the religion, because I'll tell you why. If you look at any, first of all, I believe in being able to criticize any religion.
Yeah.
It's thought,
free speech.
Absolutely. So I'll talk to my friend who is a Christian, and he'll tell me, you know, in Judaism, da da da, and I'll be like, holy shit, I didn't even know that's really fucked up. that's not okay. Okay, but you know what? 3,000 years ago, it was okay. Whatever it was, that was a normal thing. It was a societal norm. If you take a look at any religion, Christianity, Islam, things that happen, you know, these religions were built at a time that we can't possibly remember or understand the complexity of the societal norms. But the difference is this: Jews today can look at that. Well, if you're, I don't know, I'll make something up. You know, if your wife cheats on you, you should be able to cut her hands off. Nobody's cutting off their wife's hands if they cheat. They get a fucking divorce. Yeah. Because we're normal. Because we don't do. Yes, I understand the text said that. Anyways, that was a long time ago. So we understand that everything keeps changing. Same with Christianity. There's a lot of things in there that are like, holy shit. We don't do that anymore. They don't do that. Obviously, societal norms. We grow. And it's like that with every religion. Problem is, and this is what Gad is saying, with Islam, because it is the final word, Muhammad is the final word, it must never be tested.
You can't reform it.
You can't reform it. So if there's no reform, you have to apply what was normal back then, which is whatever, you know, whatever you can think of. It doesn't matter. It doesn't apply today. Well, it sure does. So that's why his position is that. But my position is different, because I'm friends with Muslim people who don't apply those, you know, those religious kind of.
They don't take their religion as seriously as, just like you don't take your religion seriously.
I take my religion seriously. I don't apply it literally.
Literally, that's what it is,
right?
It's not literalism. It's basically cafeteria religiosity, right?
Sure. Like, it's like, look, I live in Canada. I have you right here in front of me. If my world has to be surrounded by only Jewish people and everything we do has to be Jewish, it would be very foreign. The whole world would be very foreign. So we don't live like that anymore.
Yeah.
So my position is that Islamism is the political branch of Islam. That's the part that says we have to kill all the Jews, we have to kill the Christians, we have to kill everybody that isn't Muslim, and we have to take over the world. We must apply this caliphate. We must apply Sharia law, this like barbaric, you know, law, which is literally the opposite of progressiveness. And those are the people who are the danger. My friends who are Muslim don't think there should be a caliphate. They're like, what? No, they'll have a beer. You know, they won't eat pork. Okay, like, but that's normal, right? That's normal. You practice your religion, but you're not applying this militant, you know, ideology. So part of it. So that is what's happening in Canada, is we have people coming here from places where it is preached. Forget the militant part and the extreme ideology part of it. And they're coming here and they want to apply that because that is what they know. And you have to kind of understand that's what they know, that's what they're doing. Fine. But not all values are equal. Not all morals are equal. And in that respect, I'm sorry, and I'll say this to the world, Western ideologies in terms of values, in terms of how I respect you for being, if you're a good person, I don't care where you pray. I don't care who you love. I don't, it doesn't, what is it my business? Are you happy? Are you a good man? Do you do good things? Then I respect you. That's what it should be based on. And that's why my values are superior to theirs. Their values are inferior because their values are, we don't accept you, Kushal, you need to become Muslim. And if you don't, I'm going to kill you. I'm sorry, that's an inferior value.
Do you think Jewish hatred has been normalized in Canada?
Absolutely. It's been normalized around the world. I've been calling it for years. I've been saying, you know, it's always under the auspices of another idea. It's never just we hate Jews. It's, we hate Israel. Why? And whatever they say, it's like, oh, it sounds more like you just hate Jews. Criticizing Israel, absolutely. Let's talk about. I'll criticize Israel. I can criticize BP Netanyahu. I can criticize a lot of internal politics that most people don't
Yeah,
even
I
know.
think nobody should deny the fact that it happened. October 7th happened under his watch,
Absolutely,
and it
and
was a blunder.
it's going to be his legacy, and he's going to be gone because. But this is not the time.
Yeah,
there's a war. He has to lead the country through war. Once the war's done, oh, trust me, he will. I don't know. I know very few people who believe that he should continue because just like Golda Meir, what happened when she was this incredible prime minister, and then she screwed up so big and it cost so many people's lives. She knew that she had to withdraw and leave. So yeah, let's criticize. But if you're criticizing a country that, that let's say does X Y Z, but then every other country that does the same X Y Z, it's okay, then there's something going on.
yeah.
That's when it's like, hold on, why? Right? So in Canada, it's been, we hate Israel. We don't hate Jews, we hate Israel. Then it became, we hate Zionists. It's like, do you know what a Zionist is? Yeah, you guys hate Palestinians. Wrong. Zionism, for anybody listening who doesn't know, I'm going to make it so simple that you'll understand it perfectly. We as Jews would like to govern ourselves in our ancestral homeland. So you know what that means? You know what that definition means? Every single Palestinian is a Zionist. Name one Palestinian, let's say living in Gaza, who doesn't believe that they should be governed by their own people on their own ancestral homeland. All of them do, right? They may be mistaken what their ancestral homeland is. Arabs from the Arabic Peninsula, Jews from Judea, Samaria. But putting that aside, they believe that they should be able to govern themselves on their homeland. That means they're Zionists. That's all Zionism means. So they take the word and they go, well, we're allowed to say we hate Zionists because that's socially acceptable. And I said, it's a matter of time, and they're going to start saying we hate Jews. Just wait, you'll see. And now it's happening, and it's becoming such is life. C'est la vie.
So I I just get confused when I come over here and I listen to politicians tippy-toeing around this subject.
Everybody gets confused when we listen to politicians.
No, but there has to be a line that has to be drawn somewhere, right? Where you see scary videos of mobs of people with face masks going to Jewish neighborhoods in Toronto or in the greater Toronto region and literally intimidating people. Um, I saw university students feeling unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying no Zionists are allowed here. Recently, I saw a video of a New York subway where a bunch of
Put your hand up for your Zionist.
yeah,
Get off. Last
get
chance.
off. I mean, what the hell is this? Like, isn't it like 15% of the population of New York is Jewish or something?
Yeah.
That's our, I think, the single largest
Absolutely.
number of Jews outside of Israel live in and around New York City.
Correct.
And if that is the case, like, where do the Jews go? I mean, is the message being sent to the Jewish community in North America that if Israel does not exist, you're not safe anywhere now?
We know that if Israel ceased to exist, we're fucked. We know that. Every Jew, I mentioned this in God's side, and you, if you remember, I said, because there's a whole, hundreds of people. There were lots of different communities, but there's a lot of Jews. So every Jew in this room has probably had this conversation. So where are we moving? Are we moving to Florida, Texas, or Israel? And everybody started laughing because every Jew I know, every Jew in Canada is saying, "Do we leave? Is this the time?
That's heartbreaking.
Is it time for us to go now? Because this is incredibly. It's actually identical to what we saw in Nazi Germany right before the Holocaust. We started seeing a systemic turn against the Jews. And you know what's crazy is the behavior of the Jewish community is the same. Back then, all the Jews voted for Hitler. Every Jew voted. Why? Because they didn't want to be the ones to be like, well, we're not going to vote for this other group because then we stick out, whatever. They also didn't know that he was about to murder 6 million Jews and 12 million, people. Today, the Jews, the same thing. Do we leave? Well, it's not. Most liberal Jews are saying, well, it's not great, but it'll be fine. It's not like it's systemic. Oh, but it is systemic.
Can you talk about that legislation that on the day of the event that people were signing
Absolutely.
petitions about?
So a bit of a well, it's a bit left field. I'll tell you. So the Toronto District School Board has the biggest union in the world. Most people don't even know this. They have more money than anybody.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they're massive. The Toronto District School Board, and one of and everybody in the school boards, including the Peel region, York region, all the school boards, at least in Ontario, and I'm seeing as well in Vancouver and other places, but I'll speak to what I know. They're far left, to the point where like the head of Coopy, Fred Hahn, that's his name, Hahn, Fred Hahn. He looks like Shrek. He's a like a white guy that looks exactly like Shrek. Terrible to look at. The day it was either October 7th or October 8th, he tweeted, this is right after what happened. Liberation. The people of Palestinians are liberated. Like this, it warms my heart. I shouldn't I'm not gonna quote because I don't remember the exact words, but basically suggesting that he was so happy that they were, they broke through the borders of, with resistance. They like supporting what they did, supporting the genocide of 1,200 people who were just in Iran. You know what's crazy? 1,200 people that they killed are far left Jews. Most people don't even understand that. The people who were killed in the kibbutz, those aren't right wing Jews. Those are people who actually are anti-Israel. A lot of them. A lot of them were very. I shouldn't say anti-Israel. Let me take that back. All of them, for the most part, are pro-Palestinian. And what that means is they would bring Gazans in for Shabbat dinner, give them jobs, like they knew them by name, while the Palestinians who were in their villages were marking down addresses, names of people in each house, mapping it all out for Hamas. So when the day came, which was October 7th, they would come knock on the door and say, "Hey, Avi, can you open the door?" And the guy would think he knows the person. He opens the door, and they would shoot him dead. So these people are like far left, like, oh, maybe we can have peace. It's just misunderstanding. It's like, no, it isn't. This has nothing to do with land. This has to do with religion. It has to do with the extremist ideologies that they implement, which we spoke about. So a lot of people don't understand that. But here we have this far left school board, the like woke DEI kind of people, right? Who are desperate to paint this picture where anyone whose skin color is a little bit darker than white are poor and oppressed, and anyone who's white is an oppressor. That's the painting. So what are they doing? So what we saw at this event, they're introducing something called anti-Palestinian. Is it hate? Anti-Palestinian hate. That's what it's called, or anti-Palestinian racism. One of the two. I think it's racism. And what it is they want to. We already have Islamophobia, bad. Anti-Semitism, bad. It doesn't even have, by the way, Hinduphobia
Oh,
badge.
they don't consider that, and they already the same school
And I,
board
and I
is
want to
getting
get
the
and I want
cast
to get
list.
into that. I want to get into that. I do, because I think it's important. But now they're saying we should also introduce anti-Palestinian racism, which makes, but that's Islamophobia. Why are they introducing it? I'll tell you why. Because if it gets implemented into the school, you see this? The Star of David I'm wearing?
Mm-hmm.
This Star of David will be racist. It's anti-Palestinian. If I wear a flag of Israel anywhere on me, that's racism. I'm suspended. If I say Hamas is a terrorist organization, that's anti-Palestinian racism. So what is the purpose of doing this? It's to strip us from our identity. It's going to say to Jews, you can't show that you're Jewish anymore in schools, or your kid will be suspended and thrown out. So systemic racism. We saw the government in Germany apply systemic racism in different ways. Here we're seeing it applied in another way. So what are we thinking as Jews in Canada is it time to leave? I mean, it's crazy to even think. I've been here for 42 years. I never thought that. I'd never even think that question. Leave Canada? This is my life. I love Canada. Okay, where are we going? And every single Jew in Canada, I'm telling you, everyone across the whole nation is asked, is it time to go? That's where we are now. And I do want to get into Hinduphobia for a minute, because I've spoken to a lot of different, leaders of communities and organizations and political candidates, and there's something in Canada today, and it's a silent racism. It's like a quiet racism against Indian people, specifically Hindus. You see temples desecrated. You see people getting attacked. It's not covered in the news. Nobody's talking about it. It's hush, hush, hush. This is a big problem, because it's similar to what the Jews are going through. The only difference is we're loud and we're like, fuck you. We're not going to let you get away with it. And for whatever reason, Indian community is quiet. Stay focused. Worry about school. Get good grades. Don't worry about that shit. Just focus on this and you'll have a good life. They're seeing that, okay, they went to school. They got their degrees. They're lawyers. They're doctors, engineers, right? At the top.
Yeah.
And then they have kids. And then their kids are going through the same shit as them. And they're being attacked. And they're so there's a long road for the Indian community in Canada to have safety, protection, and the same like enjoyment to life as everyone else. So this is one of the reasons why we're working with Hindu organizations and Indian organizations, is because we need to make this known. And a lot of people don't know anything about it. So I'm asking you, how do we get the Indian community in Canada to start standing up to racism against their community and not be, intimidated into not saying anything? Because until you guys stand up, nobody else is going to.
Uh, I think it stems from the idea that, listen, at least with the Jewish community, right? They know if they go back to Israel, Israel is a rich country. They have a very high per capita income,
Sure.
a very robust economy, a very highly educated
Tech, yeah, of course. Huge tech
tech
industry.
industry, and they know if they go out from what is called a developed country, that they go from one developed country to another developed country. So that breeds a next level of confidence. A lot of Indians that come over here, right? They might be very educated, or very smart, and a bunch of them are not so educated, and they might be doing blue collar jobs. They come from a scarcity mindset. They come from a mindset that says, if I lose this, I don't have anything to fall back on. Listen, for example, the average income, I don't know what the average income of Israel is. I could Google it and find out. But the average income of India right now is less than $3,000 per annum. The average income of Canada is 55,000 US dollars.
Okay.
So there's a huge difference. So
there's also a different cost to life in India.
I get it. But even if we adjust it for, purchase power parity, it does not come up to 10,000,
Okay.
12,000. We have a lot of poor people still in India.
Sure.
So that breeds a different level of insecurity. So when you go and talk to these Hindu families, right, you'll be like, why don't you care? They genuinely are scared. They're scared for their children, because they're so scared that, listen, we want financial security.
Of course.
And now the ones you see that are speaking up, honestly, are the ones who are coming from India now. Because
yeah.
it's a very interesting thing. So all the people that you have interacted with,
Sure.
you'll notice barely any one of them are second generation Hindu Canadians. All of them are first generation from India who have moved here.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you will
I think you're
barely
right.
remember anyone who's born. For example, you'll barely remember anyone other than my wife on that day who was a second generation Hindu Canadian in that audience. My wife was the only second gen one.
Really?
Yeah, she was the only second gen. It was so funny.
Oh.
My wife was like, I'm the only one who's born here who's Hindu. Every single Hindu that had come over there
So
that
why
day,
the change in what's the change in mentality?
the
What's
confidence
setting the
stems
confidence?
from success in India. And a lot of
Okay.
Indians right now who are here, who are coming from India, are feeding off that success in India. They feel
Amazing.
secured.
That's
They,
good.
they feel secured now that India is doing well. So now we can speak up. A lot of Indians before this, right? We they would not feel secure and they would not speak up.
Mm.
And honestly, Hindus are really good immigrants. For example,
Absolutely.
you know what the proof of them being good immigrants is? The first generation Hindus follow the law. The second generation Hindus, a good chunk of them become woke. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If your kid is woke, your kid has completely immersed themselves into the fabric of that society. Because your
That's a
university.
problem. You guys have to stop that right away.
No, I'm not saying. You see what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
of
say?
course, I
The
understand.
dark side of being a good immigrant is a good chunk of you will turn woke.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that's the same thing in the Jewish community.
Sure, absolutely.
When I was looking at the numbers, right,
Mhm.
of I mean, Colin and I are good friends. So Colin basically, and I'll share this chart for everybody on the screen. So Colin was looking at different communities and their support for gender surgery, and there was this poll, and
Yep.
so the Jewish community, this was make it illegal for healthcare professionals to provide someone younger than 18 with medical care for a gender transition. White evangelical were 84%, Mormon were 75,
Yeah.
white Catholic were 74, non-white evangelical 72, Muslim 72, Hindu 71. So Hindus
Oh.
are very much
Yeah. That's very good.
anti-woke, right?
Yeah.
Guess where the Jews
Oh
were?
God, I don't want to know.
51%.
Oh my God.
And you know, in the
That's-
Hindu community, if they're divided by first generation, second generation,
Oh,
the
man.
first generation would be 98%, the second generation would be smack bang where the Jewish number is.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So what has happened is, because Hindus are such good immigrants, right? They their kids are turning woke. Everybody now knows the famous story of Riddhi Patel in California,
Right.
right? That the girl who went crazy. You know,
Yeah, she's
I have
that's
someone in
weird.
my immediate family in America whose daughter was taught by Riddhi Patel's mother. I'll tell you the
Do you
story.
think that she went crazy like this because of family values?
No. Her
I mean,
family is conservative. Riddhi Patel's family is
she was
Gujarati.
charged, right? At the end, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah, she's charged, and I mean,
She was
listen,
crying. I saw the
listen.
video.
I can assure you, if the Gujaratis wanted to bail her out,
They could.
1 million is a drop in the ocean
Of
for the
course.
Gujaratis. The
Of course it is.
Gujaratis are rich as
I
hell
know,
over
I
here.
know, of course.
Okay, nobody bailed her out.
Well, because it's become a cultural, like, this is an embarrassment.
Yeah.
You make us
They're
look stupid.
teaching her a lesson.
Oh yeah, this is a lesson.
1 million for
Yeah.
the Indian community. I can assure you, the Indian community, we have these temple fundraisers.
Sure.
They raise $10 million just like that, especially the
nothing.
Gujaratis.
Of course.
Especially the Gujaratis. Nobody came up for Riddhi Patel. Nobody did.
She's an embarrassment.
She was a literal embarrassment for the Gujarati community. And she was a Patel. It was even worse.
Oh,
The Patels
God.
are like, how dare she
Yeah.
do it? She's a Patel. She's
Right.
like a traitor to the cause. That's like, so why, I always say, if your kids are turning woke, that means that community per capita is actually very good in terms of blending into society. So
You know what it is? It's giving them an easier life.
yes,
The easier your life,
that's all it is.
the disconnect from reality.
Why do you think so many Jews are woke?
100%.
Because
I
Jews
agree.
are good immigrants.
100%. That's a problem.
So
There's
how do we solve that?
There's a saying, hard times make hard men. Hard men make easier times. Easier times make weak men. Right? That's the saying.
Yeah.
We are now in a weak time.
And it's crazy that I don't even have any shame in saying that. If you come here and you think blowing people up and hating a bunch of people is a good idea. You come from an inferior culture. I don't even care if you belong to a part of India, because yes, Khalistanis, whether you like it or not, belong to a part of India.
Sure.
That is not, India is not giving up on Punjab, no matter what the Khalistanis think.
Right.
India is not going to give up on
Right.
Punjab. So if these people come over here, these are bad Indians, because Khalistanis are also Indians, like it or not. I mean,
Sure.
they are Indians.
Sure.
So these people come here,
Sure.
they bring those third-rated values over here, and they're spoiling. Now, as an Indian, I'm so happy. I was like, fuck it, let these motherfuckers stay here. You know, I'm being that honest. But from a Canadian perspective, because I live here too,
Right.
now I'm torn. I'm like, can we send them somewhere else?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, look, the worst terror attack in Canadian history.
But listen, Terry
Air
Milevsky
India.
told me that when he reached out to, you know, once I asked Terry's been there multiple times on the podcast. Listen, he was the only journalist talking about Khalistan at a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And he used to work for CBC.
Wow.
And he was the only guy talking about this, the amount of lawsuits Terry has faced. And, you know, Terry's no conservative. Terry politically is very center left. But Terry is one of those rare Canadians who stood up for the truth. And Terry has
And where is he now?
Where? Nowhere. Nowhere. You know,
He didn't fit into their box.
Terry's book did not find a publisher in Canada. He had to find a publisher in India.
I'm not surprised.
A veteran Canadian journalist does not find a publisher in Canada.
If you want to get into journalism, you want to talk about news agency, you want to talk about that, there's a lot of problems, huge problems. You know, I have a friend who I'm not going to mention their name, is a senior anchor, reporter on a big news channel. He's Jewish. He's the only one in the entire station that offers a semblance of truth, a scintilla of truth that he presents to the public. And the amount of stress he's been under, he's been hospitalized for it. When Israel offered a viewing of the atrocities for journalists only, see what happened. So you stop reporting bullshit. He called up everyone he knew. He's been around for a long time. He called everybody he knew. He came to the viewing. There was 3 journalists in the whole room. Nobody even wanted to see it, because if they saw it, they'd have a big problem, right? They have like a self-reflective of, what do I do? They fall apart because they're not allowed to. Oh, someone's choking. They're not allowed to.
And we have Daniel Boardman choking.
Yeah, he's got me. The jihad
got to Daniel Boardman. Dan, go grab some water.
Get out.
Go grab some water. I'm not going to edit this out of the podcast. I want the world to know Daniel Boardman started choking when
he's on the ground. Why is he naked though?
Yeah,
that's weird. Anyway,
yes.
So I don't know what I was talking about.
So
it can't
just
be that
to give
important.
you an idea, like, since when did it become normal for? One day maybe I'm going to do this for Canadian audiences, and maybe you can help me. One day I will come and talk to citizens in Canada about how the legal system is in India, right? So we have different laws in India, and I don't know what Daniel thinks about it. Maybe I think that
Commonwealth, though.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea for Canadians to know what happens when you have identity politics on steroids. No, yeah. So I think they will understand what. So I don't think so. Canadians know Indians in India have different civil laws for different religions.
Really?
So, and not for criminal law.
Okay.
Criminal law is secular.
Across the board, yeah.
But civil laws in India, we have Sharia. I am not making this up.
In India.
Yeah, as of now, today the date is the 17th of June, 2024. India is still governed by civil Sharia.
Certain areas, obviously, that are mostly Islamic.
No. Muslims are governed by Muslim law.
Right.
So just recently, in 2-3 years ago, was the first time in Indian history that finally triple talaq. You know what triple talaq is?
No.
A Muslim man can go to a woman and say talaq, 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 and that's it.
What does that mean?
That's it.
What's that?
Divorced.
Oh, okay.
Divorced. So that was stopped in India 2-3 years ago. All right. And now you come to the barbaric end of it. This is not. So once you're divorced, right, in the Islamic system. So if the man feels bad, no, I need to remarry. So Sharia doesn't allow a direct remarriage. So there is something it's a horrendous practice, which is called nikah halala. So what does nikah halala mean? That woman who was divorced now has to marry someone else. That marriage needs to be consummated. That means,
Yeah, of course.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
There are mullahs in India
Who watch?
who get married, consummate, divorce, and then that woman can go back. That is still allowed in India.
Ah.
That is legally allowed in India. And the only talaq that has been banned in India is the instant triple talaq, which was like I give you a Skype call or a WhatsApp call and talaq, talaq, talaq. That is illegal in India. Still,
Wow.
Muslims who are married under Sharia, right? What they call it, what talaq e biddat, and there is another thing.
Yeah.
If you have like, okay, I give you a talaq now, and then after a few months I say one more talaq, and after a few months I say that is legal in India.
That's very convenient.
What you guys are gonna get over here, if you
The same?
keep going down that path,
Yeah.
is that
Oh man.
you need Indians from India coming here, talking to your Canadian audiences and explain. And if they say this can't happen, listen, India is a far bigger democracy than Canada. The population of just Mumbai and its surrounding areas is more than the population of Canada. So just shut the fuck up. Don't tell us how to do democracy, okay?
Right, right.
But when you have Islamism in a certain number, see, it starts by, oh, you guys are oppressing us.
Right.
Then it starts by, oh, I need this road now because I want to pray. It listen, every Friday I
There's
used to
lots of
go to my
normalization.
factory, right? The road would be shut. Why? Because it's Friday. Everybody is on the roads praying.
Yeah.
Then what's the next day? Now you're not allowed in these areas. Why? Well, you're not allowed to walk around in these areas in certain clothes.
Right.
Then you have Sharia petrol.
Right.
Listen, these are inferior values. Tomorrow, if a Hindu does it, I would say that also is an inferior value. If a Jew does it, that also is an inferior
100%.
value. I don't give a
I
shit
feel the
if
same
your feelings are hurt.
I feel the same.
Right? These are inferior values. The problem is that moral relativism has crept so deeply into our discourse, whether it is certain pockets of India, whether it's in the West. And yes, maybe at one point of time, white people did extremely bad things.
Of course.
What has a white kid born today got to do with that?
Right.
What is this collective guilt that every
Exactly.
white person has to carry all the time?
Right.
And it is coming to these countries. And
Quickly.
And what happens is that certain people from different cultures who know about these things and who want to talk about it are either never given a platform
Or they're called
white adjacent.
racist.
Hindus are white adjacent. Like, I'm pretty dark,
White adjacent.
but I'm white adjacent. So it's very weird. And they,
Just like that, they took away your color.
and this group of people, they understood the Western system better than you did.
Right.
So they took over your school boards.
Exactly.
They took over the levers of
You're right.
power.
It's written.
Yeah.
They just apply it in each place.
Yes. And now, so how did they get the Hindus? They're like, okay, they apparently have this caste system. Yes, whatever it is in its form in India, Indians who come over here, they have nothing to do with that because, basically pretty much that system breaks down over here. And due to market forces, basically life happens. And then how did they find out, okay, we can shut the Hindus up through this caste thing? So they have these caste bill introductions and all of that. And then they try to tarnish the Hindu community. So that's like, a gun on their head all the time. Now they don't know what to do. The irony of ironies is like the Khalistanis who support the caste bill. I'm a Punjabi. I know my language, right? And I read Punjabi lyrics. The amount of casteism that is there in Punjabi lyrics that these Khalistanis sing, it's hilarious that they support the one bill. And the best part is the bill got passed in some place in the United Kingdom. The first person to be jailed was a Khalistani.
Really?
Under that bill.
Right.
Because that person was a casteist.
Right.
So you really want that bill? I mean, be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's what we're seeing here. We're seeing like this. We have to, combat racism, just racism as a whole. So you think, oh, okay, well, shit, racism affects my people. And you think, holy shit, it affects my people. Yeah, we're really just focusing on this one group. And if you complain, guess what? You're racist. And then you have to deal with the consequences. Wait a minute, hold on a second. What's going on here? Why isn't, why don't we count in the races? Why don't they count? Well, because look at your skin color. What does that do anything? This is what's happening. It's swelling quickly in Canada, and it's concerning because they're getting so many people to join them. This is why TAFSIK focuses on allies, because there's 360,000 Jews in all of Canada. It's like tiny. Do politicians really care what Jews think? You said it earlier. They care about votes
And notes.
and notes. So they don't care if we don't have enough votes. We're not a concern. Okay, well, what if the Jews and the Iranians together demand the same, things from the government? Okay, it's a little bit better. What if it's the Iranians, the Jews, and the Hindus? Holy shit. And the Christians. Oh, okay, we better listen.
So let's talk about that. So what is the future for Canadian politics
Jeez.
as far as the synergy that you're talking about? Because it's quite, we've been speaking for a while, and I want to focus on solutions. So how can we as different communities come together and help each other? Listen, we might have our differences
Sure.
at a religious level, at a political level, at different levels, but the point is that we believe in one thing. We believe in the idea of democracy. We believe in the idea of human rights. We believe in the, and we despise the oppressed and oppressor narrative. Like I listen, and this is might piss many people off. I don't like the word Hinduphobia. I don't believe
I'm hearing the different sides.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like, otherwise how do we get hurt? Like, yeah, and I understand the argument from the Hindu side, but I've never been comfortable with that word, and I just want to put it on record.
Okay.
I don't believe I'm a victim. If I was a victim, I would not be the richest minority in North America. Let me put that straight up.
Okay.
The Hindus are the richest minority. Indians are the richest minority of North America, whether it's Canada, whether it's America. We're literally the richest. We've taken over the Jews now. The Jews are number 2 now. We're number 1. We have the money as much as the Jews do.
Sure.
Right? And all the stereotypes about the Jews in the next 20 years are going to be about the Hindus. Right. All the stereotypes are going to be about.
I'll tell you what to expect.
Yeah. So, but the point is that I just want to send a message. It's not bad to be rich.
No, why should it be?
These Jews, these Hindus, these Muslims, these Sikhs who became rich, they worked their butt off.
Right.
I know so many kids who used to come here to study in university, washing dishes, mopping floors, doing 2
100%.
jobs, fucking busting their balls, getting their degree. What else were they supposed to do? You told them, study, get a good job. They did it.
Right.
Now you're saying you're a fucking oppressor?
Right.
Go fuck yourselves.
Oppressors succeed, and those who are oppressed fail. You understand? Yeah. But it's also so racist. It's such a strange thing because the purpose of it, the intention of it is to protect those who are more vulnerable. But then what do? They go, well, these vulnerable people, they're so stupid. They don't know how to vote. They don't know how to do this. We should help them. It's like, holy shit. Like, that is insanely racist in itself. Like, you're taking away the person's, autonomy.
Yeah. So let's say there is a Hindu organization in Canada that watches you today. How do they reach out to you, and how can they work with you guys?
So the thing that we're building, obviously, allies. Okay, so we do events to announce different initiatives. We have different communities coming to us saying, hey, how do we work together? We do different cultural things, but we also do political. So cultural things, for example, we're going to be working with a Hindu organization in Canada. We're going to do a combined Diwali Hanukkah, because both of us, the celebration of lights. This is a beautiful cultural event for people to be able to get to know each other, understand each other, work together, and become friends. That's the idea. But there's a political side. The political side is really going, okay, you, whichever community, okay, let's just say the Iranians, the Iranian community, what is the paramount thing you need to be to help you have an easier life in Canada? We know what that paramount thing is. List the IRGC as a terrorist organization, which they are. Okay, so that's their main paramount thing that they want done. Okay, the Hindu community, we asked them, what is the paramount thing to be? They use the word Hinduphobia. Let's just go with that. But the point of Hinduphobia, to categorize Hindu people as an independent category of minority.
Yeah.
Which I think needs to happen anyways. Whether you call it Hinduphobia or not makes no difference to me. But the fact that you can be racist towards a Hindu person. It's like it's not really racist, and there's no real the tribunal won't really care because you're not a recognized individual group.
Mm.
Okay, this is
Which
the
is why I support them when
right,
they demand it.
right. So this is a paramount thing for their community. Okay, so we can all work together and push those because none of those paramount things are in are competing or causing anyone else harm. They're good things.
Yeah.
So if the Jewish, Iranian, and Hindu, as an example, communities come together, a few million people. Suddenly it's like, oh, votes and notes. Well, votes. We work very closely with a lot of politicians. TAFSIK works very closely with a whole bunch of politicians, right up to, especially in the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is really a lot more understanding of our difficulties and the things that we suffer. So we work with them. We've been invited to these different things we approach. So by having larger numbers, by having more, and this is the key, subscribers, people who go to tafsik.com, scroll to the bottom and just write their name and email. When those numbers get bigger, we present those numbers to the politicians. And we say, look, we have 5 million subscribers that are all in unison towards these goals. And we can actually say, okay, this week we need to focus on this problem. This temple in Brampton was desecrated. We need volunteers. We got to, like, working together as communities when everyone else has just turned their blinders on. That's what we're meant to be doing. That's what we're really working on. I'll give you a quick example. I got a phone call weeks ago from this man, a father, an email, excuse me, not a phone call. First, it was an email saying, I've emailed everybody. I don't know who else to email. Like, I emailed all the big organizations. Nobody responded. Can you help me? My daughter was beaten into unconsciousness, had her head cracked open, her eye sockets busted, her nose broken by some kids. Can you help me? I'm just like, what? So, of course, I'm like, call me right now. Like, he couldn't believe that I even recommended to call me. Of course, call me. So he calls me. We speak about it. There's some boy who basically catfished her. Come meet me at whatever Subway, and she's 16 years old. She went. She met with him. He's like, let's go through this park to get to my house. They get to the park. Two girls are waiting, and they attack her, and they stomp on her head until she's unconscious. Broke her face. Took her things. Ran off. She goes to the hospital. Police officer comes, writes up the report. Thank you. We'll get back to you. A week goes by. No one responds. Nothing's happening. He finally emails back saying, sorry, I was on vacation. So just to let you know, because she then says, like, I know this boy because we were friends on social media. This is his name. He's blocked me from everything ever since. I mean, this is pretty obvious what's going on. And the police officer, well, we brought him in with his mom. We have no reason to believe he had anything to do with anything, and that's kind of where it's over. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. That's not where it's over. First of all, there's enough circumstantial evidence that they should have been able to at least get a digital copies of
Yeah.
anyone
You
he
can get
spoke.
CCTV
There's no,
footage.
there's no reason you can. And this is just a typical example of when one specific person that works as a police officer doesn't give a shit and moves on. So I Tafsik put together this plan. This is what we're gonna do. First, we're gonna get more evidence. We have a giant group of volunteers that work. We say, okay, we need 10 people to go to this specific area. We told exactly where this happened. Go knock on doors, get video footage. I want to see anybody who walked by it between this hour and this hour. Second thing we're going to do, we need to go back to the police and we need to reopen this and redo this whole thing. Spoke to a friend. They're like, oh my God, thank you. This is great. We go onto the boys' social media. We find pictures of this girl. We're like, that's for sure the girl. Send it over. And they go, and the girl says, this is the girl who beat me up. This is one of the girls who attacked me. Amazing. So now we re-identified these people. We we had I have a friend who called the top of the police, not the chief, but generally saying, "What's going on with this division? This is the superintendent. What happened here? The supervisor? Oh yeah, this is a problem. They don't know what they're doing. You need to." The next day, the father calls me. We just got a phone call from a new investigator saying, let's start over. Give us the report again from beginning to end. I want everything that happened. And then she said, this is what happened. They went, they arrested the boy and the girl. They found out who the girl is. They brought him in, and they both admitted to everything. And they were charged with aggravated assault, which is a serious offense. It's an indictable offense, so it's federal, and robbery because they stole her things. So this is the kind of thing where if people, communities, even individuals are like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I go to the doctor, I went to the lawyer, I went to the police, I went to this, whatever, I went to my school, the teachers, and they're basically telling me to fuck off. I don't know what to do. So this is how we are helping our community and any community that we are working with that obviously are on our side and understand the importance of our values, which are shared with all of our allies. So we need to build, the organization needs to build with the communities. The bigger it gets, the louder the voice becomes. And we're not, the thing that makes us different is that I don't really give a shit what anybody else thinks. I'm not like one of those guys, I'm wearing a baseball cap. I got my interview. I'm not wearing a suit. I do what I think is right. That's it. And nobody can stop me. There's no red tape. There's no like, oh, you shouldn't say this. Oh, you shouldn't do that. I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that people who are truly being misrepresented and are suffering from the same type of attacks and of our ideologies, of our religion, have a group that we can all join together and fight together. That's the main idea behind TAFSIK.
So if they go on the website, they have all the necessary links. If they want to donate anything,
anything they want to do, it's there. We have a new website that's coming out in about a week. So I imagine by the time the podcast goes up, it'll be up. Very interactive. And again, just they subscribe and then they're notified when there's really cool events, when there's lectures, when there's this, when we're going to rally, when we need, and we're informed by the people that we work with. Hey, there's an important, for example, flag raising for the Iranian people, the lion and sun flag in Barrie. Can we need people to go out? Let's go, and we bring lots of the Jewish community, lots of the Asian community, whoever is on the subscriber list. These are people who are serious about wanting to make sure that they're safe in this country and we don't see our democracy crumble into an ocean of extremism. So it doesn't matter what the background is. I mean, we work with Muslim people, Jews, Hindus, Christians, Azerbaijanis, Albanians, all a part of this. And it's just anyone who understands the importance of wanting to, preserve our country in its democracy and be free to be whoever we are without being threatened for it.
mm-hmm.
That's important.
I love the fact that you guys are doing this and you have my complete support.
I know you mentioned that, and I appreciate that, man.
And I'm always there to support you guys.
Thank
and I
you.
wish you guys all the best.
Thank
And
you.
once again, before we wrap up, thank you very much for
Thank
agreeing
you.
to
Are
do
you
this.
kidding? Thank you.
And you always have an ally.
I know that.
I assure you.
I know that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, guys. In the description of the podcast, you'll find that the link to TAFSIK. If you are a Canadian who listens to this podcast or who is watching this right now on YouTube, go visit the website, sign up, support in whichever way possible you can, because that's how you build communities. I know this podcast has a significant listener base in at least in the greater Toronto region. So I want you guys to go support TAFSIK. I have worked with them and I know they are legitimate. So please go do. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but the point with political activism is the key to good political activism is not whether the organization and you agree on everything. The point is the end goal is a better society. So I want you guys to go support them. And as far as I'm concerned, you guys know the drill. Just keep supporting the Cārvāka podcast. I try to find these kinds of discussions more interesting than the regular clickbait bullshit that most people do. So keep supporting me. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, namaste. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.